Chair Cruz, are we ready to begin this evening?
Nicole, we are ready to begin this evening. The time is 6:33, and I call this Planning Commission meeting to order. Would everyone please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of our country? Nicole, can I have a roll call, please?
Yes. So, Commissioner Eric Altman,
Present.
Commissioner Andrew Goff,
Present.
Commissioner Crystal Malari,
Present.
Vice Chair Devet Mohammed is absent this evening. Chair Brando Cruz.
Present. Thank you. Okay, moving on to public comment. This time is reserved for the members of the public to address the Planning Commission on items of interest that are not on the agenda and are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. It is recommended that speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes each, and it is requested that no comments be made during this period on the items on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the Planning Commission on items on the agenda should comment via email prior to the start of the meeting or to verbally comment on an item during the meeting. Click the raise your hand button if joining by computer or press *9 if joining by phone when the item is called. The Planning Commission is prohibited by law from taking any actions on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusions should be drawn if the Planning Commission does not respond to public comment at this time. Speakers are asked to speak clearly and provide their name. Any handouts or for distribution to the Planning Commission must be emailed by 3 p.m., which was today. At this time, I open public comment.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, Beth Marcus, please come to the dais.
Good evening, Beth Marcus, resident. It's nothing to do with the agenda. I just want to state again that Tuesday night, I just really appreciate the joint meeting that you had with the City Council. I thought it was very effective, and I'd like to see those happen again, so great job. Keep it up, because there's modifications tonight.
Thank you, Beth.
Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak? We have no additional speakers, Chair Cruz.
Thank you, Nicole. At this time, I close public comment. Director Cooper, are there any agenda changes?
Thank you, Chair Cruz. The city attorney has one report to provide to the commission.
Chair, commission members, I have distributed before you each the written report upon return from closed session, which parallels the minutes from your last meeting of July 30th. I would request under the provisions of Government Code Section 954.2B that you add the matter to the agenda as consent item number 2. No, I need a motion to that effect. Does not have to be a roll call.
I'll make a motion to add the notes here from the Law Office of William G. Ross in the consent calendar and minutes.
Yep, oral vote. If it's seconded.
I'll second it.
Then if you agree, say aye.
Oh, aye.
If you don't agree,
Aye.
say nay.
Aye.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to announce the consent calendar and entertain a motion.
Chair, I move to approve the entire consent calendar, both items.
I'll second.
It's been regularly moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Eric Altman,
Aye.
Commissioner Andrew Goff,
Aye.
Commissioner Crystal Malari,
Aye.
Vice Chair Devet Mohammed is absent this evening. Chair Brando Cruz.
Aye. Thank you, Nicole. Okay, moving on to public hearings. The first item we have is the 21 Capri setback variance. Staff, please.
Good evening, Chair Cruz, members of the Planning Commission, and members of the public. My name is William He with the Planning Division, and happy to give a short presentation on the 21 Capri Court Variance Project. To get us started, I want to give a location map to show where the project is. This project is located in the Harvest subdivision, one of the newest subdivisions in town within the Watson Ranch specific plan. As shown in the star here, it's in the northeast corner of the Rio Del Mar East and Datura Street intersection. Some zoning information and project description for this project. It's in the medium density residential 16 zone, MDR 16. The site, 21 Capri Court, is lot 85 of the Harvest subdivision, and it's on a 4,756 square foot lot. The project's goal is to develop a two-story, 1,891 square foot single family home. The main access to the site is Capri Court. And the variance, which is the crux of today's project, is to request a 1 foot reduction to the required rear yard setback from 10 feet to 9 feet. So here is an aerial photo of the site. 21 Capri Court is the one that's shown with the yellow font. It's kind of at the corner in the between two existing single-family homes, and you access it by entering Datura, make a right on June Grass, and then you're in Capri Court. The three houses to the left are model homes, and the lot that is requesting a variance right now is proposed as a model home as well. So here is the plot plan of the proposed home. So the direction's a bit flipped now. Capri Court's on the bottom of the screen, and then the rear yard is on the top of the screen. So where the circle in red is the one corner that is in the 10-foot setback. So as you can see, there is some room. There's room in the backyard, but they couldn't make it fit for just that one corner, and the variance is what it's requesting to give some relief to reduce the setback from 10 feet to 9 feet. The applicant's team is here, so they can give you some more information on the plot plan. So, about the variance, staff reviewed the application, and here are some key takeaways for the analysis. The lot is a irregular shaped lot. It's trapezoidal instead of the regular rectangular lots that we find in single-family homes in the Harvest subdivision. The rear yard setback requires 10. The variance requests 9. The front yard actually requires a 20-foot setback to the garage. So there is some regulation in the front as well. The team tried to do a mirror image of the plan, but it would not work because the driveway would be interfered with an existing water meter and sewer connection on the right side of the lot facing Capri Court. And then the rear of the lot where the fence is, if the Planning Commission does grant this variance, there will be no conflicts with building, fire, and public works because the rear is facing not a home, it's facing a non-residential landscape common area. And lastly, about variances, there is no change in use for this project. The goal is to develop a single-family home. Public outreach for this project, it started in August 8th. We did our public mail notice to 500 feet now, and that goes to all property owners and tenants. We also had our Gov delivery email list and our usual public notice to the newspaper. Throughout this public outreach period, We received one comment, and staff responded to the comment. The comment was not about the setback issue, was more interested in traffic, so unrelated. With all that said, staff's recommendation is to approve the variance for the 21 Capri Court. The project is consistent with the existing final EIR of the Watson Ranch specific plan. There's no substantial change to that EIR, and it complies with Class 5, Section 15305, which is an exemption to CEQA for minor alterations to land. So that's all that I have. I know the applicant's team is here too. If you have any questions for me, go ahead, or I'll be here.
Thank you, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from the applicant? Would you like to make a presentation, or please?
Mm-hmm. So let me load up your, right here. You're good to go?
Chair Cruz, commissioners, staff, and members of the public, good afternoon. My name is Jacqueline Chan. I represent the applicant DR Horton. We're a home builder, and I am the project manager on the Harvest at Watson Ranch residential development. First, just thank you, William, for a very thorough presentation, and thank you for just helping us out with the application process. As William mentioned, we are requesting a variance for a reduction in 1 foot rear setback on an irregularly sized lot, which is 21 Capri Court. So as you can see in this aerial photograph, the subject property is outlined in the solid blue line. This actually allows us to keep all of the models in the same location. As the sales office and the parking lot, so that will be keeping it away from all active construction areas. Next slide. You've seen this slide previously already, but just to reiterate that the lot backs up to a common area, and so that the reduction in setback won't affect any distance between neighboring houses. We're unable to plot this home in any other configuration, unfortunately, and that would avoid us having to request a variance. On the right, you'll see a reference of the first floor plan of the home that we're intending to plot. Is a 4-bed, 3-bath plan with an option for either a 5th bed or a loft on the 2nd story, which is not shown here. But that's just for a reference, and this plan as a model, we're hoping to be able to plot it on 21 Capri, and it will also be offered for sale in other areas of this subdivision. With that, if there's any questions from commissioners or from the public, I'll be available for questions.
Thank you for that, Jacqueline. We'll move on to the commissioners. Do you have any questions for staff and or the applicant?
So I'm just looking at the drawing that you have up there, and it seems like it's just the corner of the house, probably runs maybe 3 or 4 feet. Is that really the length of it? About
That is
way?
correct. I would say if that's 9 foot on one end of the house, and it's 11.84 on the other end of the
Yeah.
house. So if you can take an average, I would say it's somewhat 1/3 of the way. That would be my guess.
And that is, according to the floor plan there, that is really the kitchen component of the house, right there in that corner?
It would actually be the living room, because that floor plan I've shown here is flipped.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you, that's all I have.
Okay.
Just curious, so currently, right now, is the fencing up? Is that a temporary fencing? I'm just thinking of how that would look like
Sure.
aesthetically with clean lines as
Yes.
it shows here.
Yeah, so the fencing, that's actually a perimeter wall and fence that's already installed. So as you can see on this aerial, let's see if I can point to it. Right. Oh, my cursor doesn't show. But there's already a fence there at the perimeter of the common area and the property line. Yeah, so that has already been. No, that would not. Yes. So the variance will allow for the home to be 9 foot away from the fence instead of the required 10 foot. Yes.
I'm going to follow that up quickly with a simple question, and I'll start though by saying, generally I get it, and I don't think a foot is all that big a deal, personally. But in looking at this picture you've got up now, what I can't tell is the property outside the fence sloped, or is it all level kind of across from the fence?
What you mean is in reference like to the back of the property line down towards the road? Is that
Exactly.
your question? Yes, so it sloped it down a little bit
Okay.
to meet Rio Del Mar.
Got it. And so that's, I'm guessing, because the other option here would be tying into what my fellow commissioner just asked regarding the fence. Could the fence potentially have been pushed out a foot? And if you've got a slope, the answer is, well, probably not. So
Yeah, and that would require a lot line adjustment and yeah.
exactly,
So.
which is a kind of, yeah. So, okay, cool. I get it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just do one quick follow-up? Now, this is a new model, correct? It's not an existing model.
Yes, it is a new model.
The reasoning for the new model was demand?
We're always looking to improve the plans that we're offering to home buyers. So this is our latest iteration of a plan that we think would be more appealing. It has a better floor plan, and that's why we are proposing a new plan as well as modeling it.
So are there 5 models now? Is that what it is, or is there 4?
There will be a total of 4.
Total of 4.
Yes.
And is this model the largest, do you know?
It will be the largest, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you, commissioners, for the questions. I will now open this to public comment.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Is there anybody on Zoom that would like to speak? Please raise your hand if so. Chair Cruz, there does not appear to be any public comment.
At this time, I close public comment. Thank you guys for the presentation. It looks like there's not going to be much change with the variance at all. As Commissioner Malari was talking about, there's no changing in the fence line, slopage, as Commissioner Altman had mentioned. So at this time, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the variance to reduce the rear yard setback requirement for a single-family home at Lot 21 Capri Court in the Harvest subdivision, APN 059-473-033, file number PL 240019.
I'll second that motion.
It's been regularly moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Eric Altman,
Aye.
Commissioner Andrew Goff,
Aye.
Commissioner Crystal Malari,
Aye.
Vice Chair Devitt Mohammed is absent, Chair Brando Cruz.
Aye. Thank you, commissioners. Okay, moving on to.
Stay as America's home, don't go north of Canada.
All right, moving on. Next item on the public hearing, we have the Oat Hill multifamily residential major modifications. Staff,
Right.
please.
Right here. Hi, Chair Cruz and Planning Commission, members of the public, Brent Cooper, Community Development Director. This is a continued public hearing from your last meeting on July 30. And at that meeting, the applicant presented orally in a presentation some additional modifications that they would like to pursue. The direction from the commission at that meeting was for the applicant to perfect their request and bring it forward. So we've received that. It's part of the packet. And the applicant would like to speak to their proposal. I haven't prepared a presentation for today since we kind of did that before, but I do have available the presentation from the last meeting if that helps the discussion. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Brett. Applicant, please step up to the podium.
Good evening again. Long time no see. So I hope everybody's well. We've been working with staff over the last 3 weeks to do the project narrative that was requested by the Planning Commission. And we've actually discovered that we may be closer than we thought from last time. So if you remember, we were talking about stucco and lap siding and the differences in what was approved. Going back to what was approved in September 2021, the buildings were stucco. So what we're going to say tonight is the first 2 floors on the buildings, we want to keep stucco, obviously. We'd like you to consider stucco on the 3rd floor in lieu of lap siding, but you know that's for your decision. Now, going back to the 2021 City Council approval in September, that consisted of buildings that had 17 units and 12 units. So part of this major modification that we're asking for tonight is to keep what we already have approved on the lower parcel, which is a combination of 18-unit buildings and 15-unit buildings. And we were informed by Bill Ross's office that because those were issued before July 5th, we can maintain that lower parcel with the 15-unit and 18-unit buildings. So now it becomes fairly academic, we believe, in keeping parcel A consistent with the 15-unit and 18-unit buildings. We don't believe the buildings change, you know, the look materially. We'll continue with the 1st and 2nd floor stucco on parcel A, and we again would like you to consider stucco on the 3rd floor as well. It's currently lap siding is approved through the September 2021 City Council meeting. The other items you can discuss, and I'm happy to field questions regarding grading, retaining walls, and landscaping. But the other big ask that we're going to talk about and we'd like to request is the change from the concrete tile roofs to the asphalt shingle roofs. It's a cost-saving measure, but we also believe it actually looks aesthetically better as well. And it can also allay some fears from our ladies in the crowd tonight regarding safety. Those things are heavy. We don't want those puppies up there anymore. So that's really all I wanted to talk on tonight, and I'm happy to field some questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, what are your questions? Well, I was looking at I was reading through the designs and the modifications that you guys, that was sent forward to us. And I noticed that lap siding was, instead of the bat and banner, or that the previous ones that were previously approved. And the lap siding looks nice. So I would urge my fellow commissioners, if they want to approve that. And I know that's part of the approval process that you guys would acquiesce and would go forward with that, because I know they're easier to paint or whatnot. I know it is a cost factor, but I personally like the difference of the contrast. I know for pricing purposes, you'd like the whole thing to be stucco, but I'd like to hear what my fellow commissioners have to say to that. That's my personal liking, is the lap siding.
Absolutely.
So I'm just quickly reading through this major mod, and there seems to be like 14 different items listed in here.
Correct.
your big question is the roof material and then either the lap siding or stucco. The roof pitch, that was just on that one building, correct? The
I
pitch
believe so,
change.
correct. And then, the biggest ask I think that we're looking for tonight is just to maintain the consistency between the two parcels with the number of units per building.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that change is just parcel B, is that the top one?
Parcel A is the
Oh,
top
okay,
one. Yeah,
parcel
so
A.
right now, parcel A would have approved the 12 and 17 unit buildings, two different building types. We would have to go back through a full building set, obviously. But we were actually able to maintain the exterior look with doing the 15 and 18 unit buildings. I think staff would agree on that. We were just able to maintain the same number, 291, with a little bit better spacing on the buildings.
So out of all these 14 that are listed in this major mod, they apply to both?
Both parcels, yeah. We're trying to,
Parcels.
that way we can keep both parcels consistent. It doesn't look like you have two
You're
properties.
not
out
at a
there.
point in any way in the lower parcel of already having done any of this work previously? I mean,
believe
I'm just
we-
looking at the patios, they're not done. I just drove by and looked at it.
The item that we do have done on parcel B would be the roofing. So we have put the asphalt shingle roofing on parcel B as part of the approval of minor modification PL
About the building window, the removal of
22-0016.
the building window, is that done?
Say again?
The removal of the building window, there was one window and,
Did we pull that? We have not pulled it yet,
Yeah,
but
we pulled it.
that's one of
But
those mechanical things that we'd like you guys to consider just because it's gonna be noisy for residents.
and then there's 3 items on here about retaining walls. Are those walls done? Is it surfacing? Because I know part of it was surfacing.
The top wall, the soil nail wall that wraps the tank.
Yep.
That's being installed right now. I believe we're asking you to approve the finish on that. I think we've provided some samples. The other 2 retaining walls are safety items. As we've done the grading, these retaining walls are gonna be needed to maintain the property.
And are those I think one of them's just changing height, right?
Yeah, I believe so,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. I'm just trying to, a lot of items here, I just want to make sure I'm wrapping my mind around all of them. The patio, the floor, that was just the front little,
So,
Change
I believe the original was a stuccoed wall.
yeah, and you're going to like a wood.
We like the wood panel. We believe it adds a little character to the buildings, a little texture to the buildings, and we also think it fits in better with the Napa Valley aesthetic.
Okay, thank you. That's all. I just wanted to make sure everything was clear in my mind.
Sure. There's a lot of items on there. Staff's been very patient with us as we've been submitting them onesie, twosie, so.
I got one question, just in regards to the roofing that you had mentioned.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about you said a concrete roofing?
Correct. So back in September 2021, the roofing that was approved by city council was a concrete tile. Yeah, so that's a much thicker, much heavier material, much more expensive material, both labor-wise and material-wise. So we're going back, we'd like to propose a very standard black, whatever's going to make Title 24, obviously, I believe it's going to be a black or a charcoal colored roof that will fit with the proposed color scheme that we're asking for as well.
And how does that, because we're up on the hill and just kind of the intent back then was, it's hot up there, thinking through maybe just insulation, is that the original intent and now we're identifying potential some cost savings? One proposal of
Well, it's actually cost savings, but also the asphalt shingle roofs have to fall under the state's requirements for Title 24 for energy efficiency. And I believe that the asphalt shingles, I might have to correct myself, but I believe the asphalt shingles are more energy efficient than the concrete tile.
And then what was the cost savings for that?
I'd have to look, but it was well into the 6 figures. It's a lot of money, yeah.
My question actually isn't for you at the moment. I just want to, because we're not city council, so I don't recall exactly what the city council approval was, and I do just want to kick it over to staff.
Fire away at Bill. He gives me a hard time all the time.
And see if staff can kind of, comment on your comment that basically the original city council approval was with stucco and so on. Because that obviously is a significant factor in terms of how I'm thinking and looking at everything. So can you kind of fill us in terms of what that city council approval back in '21 was?
Thank you, Commissioner Altman. The buildings, there have been a number of modifications to the project since the original approval. The original approval had stucco on the exterior for the first and second floors and a board and batten accent on not all, but most of the third floor. Somewhere along the way, the stucco was changed, the board and batten was changed to, which is vertical, was changed to a lap siding, which is horizontal, and the first and second floors and portions of the third were changed from stucco to a fiber cement panel that looks like stucco. And then the request by the applicant here is to change the fiber cement panels to stucco and then just remove the lap siding altogether.
Got it. Thank you. That helps.
Okay.
Okay. Good. That gives me some additional clarity.
Any questions about the color change as well? Because that's also one item that we were talking about our last meeting 3 weeks ago.
We went from what I recall and from looking at the notes, we went from three major colors to 2 colors. Is that?
I believe we're looking at a black, a gray, and a white. Believe the white's the black and the gray and the white. One of those is an accent. But yes, you're correct. 2 majors and 1 accent color.
Yeah, that was if I recall, it was a darker red, I think, that was removed.
Correct.
Maroon, whatever you want to call it. But
I mean, looking at the pictures that I see here that you set forth, the submittals, aesthetically, they still look nice. There's still good contrast with the 2. I mean, I personally, I like it. If I looked up there, it looks nice. But I'd like to hear from my other commissioners. What do you guys think?
well, so I'll address a couple of things that, Mr. Chair, you have raised. One, I would completely agree that if we are to move forward with this, that I do like the breakup on the third floor of doing the lap siding rather than doing the stucco all the way top to bottom. And as you seem, at this point, a tad more amenable to that.
We all seem like we're in a good mood today. I don't know.
I think that makes some sense. And then in terms of the colors, if I'm recalling that third color was a minor color and it was not going to be used throughout, it was going to be used
Correct.
in parts of the property, but not throughout the property.
Yes.
So I guess my take there is, I don't think it's a significant change or loss. So, I mean, to address those, 2 points, and then I'll touch on, from the various retaining walls. I appreciate that you guys did do the extra height on the one, because I think that was necessary for, the support.
Site stabilization,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. So, and I think that from what I've seen with the facings on them, they're retaining walls. They're not going to be super pretty, but they don't look. It's not like it's just plain cinder block.
Right, and we've also colored them per the city's request as well. I think, there was a color palette that was selected and approved by the city originally, so I think that's part of the why it's
Yeah.
part of the major modification.
Yeah, so on those, I don't have a concern. I guess, you know, I will touch, and I think I know the answer, but I'm gonna touch on it anyway. I understand the request and the rationale for removing the one window on the lower floor that you've requested because of the equipment and noise. My question becomes, can you kind of quantify the savings? Well, it's. I guess I'll put it this way: the alternative to removing the window is putting in a kind of, you know, triple pane sound barrier type window, which might have the same impact as removing it. Can you kind of identify what sort of the costs of, because from a looks perspective, the window looks, I like the look with the window. But I also understand building costs. So I'm
Well, the
trying-
window wasn't so much building costs, well, that
Right.
obviously plays a factor. It was more
It was- I know.
aesthetic and the noise for
You know,
that
right, right.
resin.
And that's why I'm asking, though, because on the one hand, the option is to go with a significantly sturdier window, which would have that same acoustic impact, instead of removing the window and having no window. And so that's kind of, have you guys done any examination on that particular issue?
We have not, no, we have
Okay.
not looked at a thicker, more soundproof window. I don't believe so. No.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Altman, I'd like to remind the commission that the standard here, or the burden of proof, is how is the requested change, a burden that's on the applicant, is how is that requested change consistent with the original council decision? Among the factors that you can consider, it does not include cost. It's include like aesthetics, you know, certainly compliance with energy standards would be one, but you've got to combine those, right? But the ultimate overlay question is, and that's for explanation and expansion by the applicant, is how is the requested change consistent with what the council originally did? So it's a subjective, certainly, standard to some extent, but it's also objective for those things that you can observe and were part of the council's consideration for the unique placement of the structure in a unique geographic place within the city. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments.
I got one question. So just in regard to the overall project, you know, it's being promoted as high luxury living, and, you know, with these proposed changes of material and, you know, front-facing or just aesthetics of the building, can you talk to me about how that would continue to, you know, drive the, I would say, the occupancy and, you know, of how we promote it versus, you know, if we do adopt the changes and set forth there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think aesthetically, looking at it from the road, for instance, we have found that the building colors are desired by residents. Like, they love these building colors that we've been putting up at different developments, both in Northern California and in the state of Washington. I think we're keeping the actual building materials fairly consistent with the stucco that was approved by City Council in September 2021. And then with regards to the roofing material, it kind of blends in for the residents. You know, the concrete tile does stand out, but, you know, we like the aesthetic of the darker shingle with that new color palette that we've selected. We find that we draw higher quality residents and higher quality residents for yourselves as well. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
I'm taking a look at the first floor, what is it, the patio covers?
Yeah. So those are the balcony, the patio fencing, correct?
So, personally for myself, I like clean lines and just, you know, like done a DIY kind of project with those panels.
Mhm.
And I noticed like just wood, you know, either just over time, just rots or, also just, you know, just things grow on it in a sense. So how are you gonna prevent that from still looking, you know, beautifully on the outside? What is it treated and how's that gonna?
Treated lumber, it'll be stained as well, and then we'll have a maintenance program in place to make sure, because that's gonna be a very visible for both prospective residents and existing residents once we start moving folks in. So it's gonna be on us to properly maintain it so that we can keep, you know, residents happy and future, you know, residents as well, keep coming back to the property. So treated lumber, be stained as well, and then, it stands out. You know, it doesn't blend into the building like stucco does. And we actually looked at, you know, color variations on those just to make them pop. But this is another item that we've used in the past that residents really like. So it's kind of, we have case studies for it, which is why we're kind of proposing it here as well.
I think my last one is just about the clubhouse and the pool. It's from the pool, what's being proposed is very simple and just, doesn't pop any longer. It's just kind of it's a huge, just beautiful centralized building for the community to gather, but it looks like it's just in my perspective, a rectangular box. I mean,
Are we talking about the large one on parcel A?
yeah, like, well, we're just changing it, right? From the clubhouse, you're taking away the panels and you just want to replace it all with just stucco.
Correct.
So it's just taking away just the beauty and the details that the intent of,
Correct.
right?
So, and the intent there is that because the rest of the buildings are stucco, based on the 2021 approval, it might stick out like a sore thumb if we do it in a different manner, and not in a good way, in our opinion.
But if it's a hub or a centralized location to gather and, you know, attract, my thought would be that you would want to have, you know, the detail and just like that high luxury, what we're promoting here.
It's going to be very high luxury on the inside and the outside. The finishes are going to be quite different than the buildings themselves, which are already luxury as well.
Mm-hmm.
So our clubhouses are kind of our staple. They are always done very well. It's not something that we thought about, to be honest, in terms of is it going to detract from the property as opposed to add to the property.
Do you have maybe some pictures or things that you could pop
Yeah.
up on the website that we can take a look at?
Not here, but I can definitely forward you guys some stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, thank you. I had the same questions as Commissioner Malari, is the pool house and the clubhouse. So collectively, we decided to go with lap siding. You know, I know that you guys are just trying to go stucco completely. But if we did go lap siding, it sounds like we're gonna at least go the third floor of the parcel A and parcel B with lap siding. Let's say we decide to go there. Why wouldn't we do that with the clubhouse and the pool house?
We don't think it's gonna look right, to be honest. While that's an accent on the buildings, to have one building all lap siding, it's not gonna blend in with the property like we want, and it's not going to pop the same way it's gonna pop with the rest of the buildings being stucco. Because it's right in the middle of that property.
It's single story, correct?
It's single story, yes.
Stucco is already guaranteed first two floors of all buildings.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah,
I guess I just want to go back to City Attorney Ross's comment about whether we're still kind of within what City Council approved. Or are we looking at, when we kind of look at all of this, and this isn't so much a question to you at this point,
Please.
it's a question to my fellow commissioners, as well as potentially the city staff. I just want to be sure that we're comfortable that, in fact, at the end of the day, we are upholding the, I don't know what the right term is, but the city council's approval. So I just kind of ask everybody to kind of take a moment and, think that through a little bit, which I'm trying to do myself, so.
While the question wasn't towards me, I will answer it for you. I mean, again, I think we're on a much different playing field than we were 3 weeks ago, right? Where we believed, we were going back to the 2022 approval with it, all lap siding and going to stucco, correct? So to answer, are we staying consistent with that September 2021 city council ruling? We're not changing any of the exterior building materials. While we're asking to do the third floor stucco, we're not like, project's gonna end if it doesn't happen, right? So
Well, the one change you are asking is from the concrete roof
The
tile
roof,
to
the roofs,
the asphalt.
absolutely.
And I will tell you, living in a home with concrete roof tile, there are a number of reasons why I personally prefer, but again, I'm a 20-year resident and we're hoping to be there even longer.
Sure.
These are rentals, so it's
Correct.
a different mindset, and I get that.
Yeah.
But the maintenance, the repair, and so on concrete, once those things are in place, I mean, forget being a 20-year roof, forget being a 50-year roof. Those things will last pretty much forever. Whereas asphalt shingle does have issues over time.
35
and-
plus years
Ri-
at this
right,
point.
but
Correct.
but over time it does. Whereas the concrete is just, I mean, it's nearly permanent. So there is a change in on that piece.
Sure.
So
Yep. Understood.
Okay, while we mull this over a bit, we'll open this to public comment.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, is there anyone on Zoom that would like to speak? Okay. I believe there's no public comment.
All right, well, I close public comment.
Yeah, I just got one comment before we move. I think that we're looking at what was presented to us and just kind of looking on drawings and renderings of that. But visually for myself, it's very difficult to identify how it would actually be when we do see it built. Take into account Home 2 Suites and our Napa Cove discussion that we had on Tuesday. But for me, I gotta touch and feel and see, specifically how it would look like. I love the color scheme. I love it is definitely modern, and it I can envision as I look to the mountains, the pop of the blues on that third floor. But I think without truly having it tangible and also identifying the material and of what's being used, it's very difficult to make a decision on perspectively from my end. I would like to see what you had mentioned with other buildings that have what you're proposing here. But I appreciate you mentioning just kind of just sticking to what we want American Canyon and the standards to be. But that's just my commentary at the moment. It's truly difficult to to make that decision on all these changes here.
I'll add my input here as well. Going through all of these, I really have no problem with most of them. Probably the biggest things that jump out as a concern is the change in the roof materials, but I totally understand that. And I'm really thinking of the aesthetics of it more than anything else, how it looks. I don't think that'll be that big of a deal. It's really the siding change, which is item number 3 in here. I really do not like stucco as it is. And I understand the use of stucco, but I really like the change in the materials. It just adds a little bit of contrast, adds a little depth to the building, especially from farther away. So that's really the only item on here that draws any concern for me. I would like to continue to see that board and batten, I believe it is on the 3rd floor. And I understand with the hospitality room and all of that, single story should probably be stucco. Maybe a trim or something that could be highlighted at the very top that tie in with the other buildings. For the most part, I would assume that would be stucco as well. The lighting, nobody mentioned the lighting. I actually like the lighting change a little bit better than the other one that was designed in there. They look pretty nice. All the retaining walls, I think, just definitely need to be done. I like the surfacing that is proposed. So I'm really in support of all 14 of these except for number 3, which is but as you mentioned, that's not a big deal anymore for you because it's already been approved for the first 2 floors. So that's what I have.
Commissioner Goff, could I ask you just a clarifying question? Because it was one of the important issues you mentioned with respect to the recreation building. Oh, no, it was the board and batten on the 3rd floor. There are 2 types of fiber cement trim. On the lower parcel, they were approved with a lap siding, which is the horizontal type of siding. The board and batten is vertical, and that is because the parcel B area has building permits, so they're vested with the lap siding on the 3rd floor. The parcel A doesn't have building permits, so they're not vested, which means it defaults to the 2021 board and batten. So I just wanted to sort of clarify.
The big thing there would be uniformity in the buildings.
I thought you might have meant that.
That's what I was looking at.
I thought you might have meant that, yeah.
Lap, board, I don't know.
So, yeah,
Can we just go to vertical and horizontal?
Okay, good, yeah, I thought that you were, yeah, I thought you were referring to, as the other commissioners affirmed their preference for the 3rd floor lap siding, which is the horizontal.
Yeah,
just wanted
uniformity between the buildings.
Yeah.
It's just the different texture, I think, on the 3rd floor adds a little bit and it cuts down on just the solid stucco walls.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure we had that clear.
So my question again to the applicant, for the board and batten, is that totally out of the question? I mean, it sounds,
We don't like the look. We think it's a little cheaper, and it's kind of been popularized over the last 5 to 10 years. Because
Oh, I'm sorry, Blaze, I'm sorry, it has to be the dais. Yeah, unfortunately, the recording for the meeting, they won't hear what you have to say if it isn't on a microphone.
You caught on to my plan there. We just think the lap siding, the horizontal, is a cleaner look. The board and batten's been popularized by HGTV the last couple of years. And it's become very popular commercially, but for aesthetics for this property, we really like the lap siding. That's what we really want to stick to on this property.
thank you for that.
Okay.
So with,
You want to talk to me after?
so I'm going to echo with my fellow commissioners here.
Fran.
I think all of the proposed changes we like. We agree with 99% of them. What I'm trying to get out of the commissioners now is, are we going to go with laps siding for the 3rd floor, all of us collectively? Because I know 2, maybe 3, and I'm not sure if Commissioner Malari was agreeable about that. We just wanted that contrast. So everything I see personally that I'm seeing and what I'm hearing from my commissioners, all 14, 15, or however much you put in, again, thank you for the CMU walls, because that was added cost that you guys had to come up with. Thank you for that. Again, it's just a matter of, are we gonna go complete stucco on everything? Or are we gonna at least break it up and do the third floor lap siding? And my proposal was, let's do lap siding. I think Commissioner Altman said lap siding. I know he didn't know the difference between batten and panel, but I think he's gonna go also with lap siding.
This way.
That way.
Okay.
Commissioner Malari, what do you think?
Put you on the spot. Yeah, this way. That way, yeah.
So again, with your proposed modification and changes, we're agreeable to all of them, with the exception of number 3.
Number
The
3 is.
lap side for the third, and we're good with that. So now, with that being said, we have to
Well,
cut.
I'm
Go ahead.
actually, I don't,
Still had some concerns.
I have just
in terms
concern of-
not having a good
I think,
clue as to what it's gonna look like.
well,
which I get.
yeah, but also, the roofing, of the shingles to the tile. I'm just not, I'm not convinced how that, we're here to potentially help with the financial hardship of the project, but, addressing aesthetics and the material that was approved and proposed to us, or proposed to, for the project, I'm not convinced of, we have a clear decision on the roofing material that's being proposed, but also reading notes.
When you say you're concerned about the roofing material, is it
Well, we were going from,
quality of it, the color of it, the
Well, the ma-
longevity of it,
I think all encompassing, you're going from a tile to a shingle, right? You think just the quality within itself, I'm not sold.
I will draw your attention to that it's already been approved on the lower parcel, so that's gonna probably move forward with the shingle. So now we're just trying to tie the 2 parcels together with some consistency. So,
Can you,
We'll have to check the building permit applications to verify the roofing approved for the parcel B. But I believe it probably is shingles.
so again, for uniformity, that would be something, it's already
Right.
approved
Mhm.
for one, okay.
Any other question or comments from the commissioners, or
no?
Just trying to think this through a moment. There's, as you know, there's a lot here. Some of it, it's a lot of little, it's not a one big, which in a sense makes it a little more challenging because as you've heard, there's lots of individual items that we kind of, amongst the 4 of us, have no issue with. We're absolutely fine with. There are a few that I think each of us are trying to kick around in our own brains, okay, where are we with these little ones? So we're trying to work it through.
should we ask to continue this at our next meeting, or are we gonna make a decision about anything? Well, we can't right now. I think we can't make a resolution today. It has to be done.
Today, it's only a public hearing, right?
Yeah, it has to be till the next one. Or we could do a special, we can't do that today. We're not doing a resolution today. Is what I'm telling you.
It's up to you, Chair.
Okay, so at this time, collectively speaking, as I mentioned earlier, we do We have questions, but we do approve with most of the changes that you proposed to us. And collectively speaking, I think what we want to do is we want to do lap siding for the 3rd floor. However, today we cannot make a resolution. We need to have staff prepare that resolution on our wants and what we'd like to see. And that would have to come up to the next meeting, whether it be a special meeting from 2 weeks from today or our next planning commission meeting in September on the 4th Thursday of the month. And at this point, I will refer to Attorney Ross for clarification on that.
This matter's already been noticed for the city council meeting of September 3rd. It was a general notice so that it could accommodate whatever the council decision is. What I would recommend in conjunction with Brent is, you know, I think we have the way you split, you know, depending on how you describe it, right, to bring back resolutions, and if it needs to have examples of what you mean, then you should say that when you go through that and make your approvals. But you've got to approve a final resolution reflecting this decision. You know, we have an administrative history in the city of timely processing matters for council and commission consideration. It's very important that the resolution, because it's also a finding here, you know, the legal term is it bridges the gap between the evidence and your decision. Can we timely prepare something for a special meeting, you know, to still try to accommodate the council meeting of the 3rd? Yes, but that's just staff's side. You know, there still is the issue of, can we notice a meeting where a quorum would be present? But I think you have to, you know, assuming you describe things well, which I think you can, and we can go through and integrate it. It's not like this is the first time this has come before you. We would attempt to accommodate a meeting so that the regular noticed meeting of the city council can be met. Said more directly, we can't guarantee a time period. We will use best efforts to achieve one. Right? You still have to comply with the Brown Act, whether it's regular or special meeting, but there is the indication of we you know, did notice the council meeting for their review of what your decision is on September 3rd.
Chair, I have a clarifying question for the city attorney. Bill, how much in advance of a special meeting, if we could schedule one, is necessary?
Well, that's a good point. We have to have 24 hours notice for that to happen, but I think you have to realize that for that to happen, staff has to have concurrence as to the content of the resolution for use at that special meeting. So, you know, I think quite honestly, you've got to look at you know, a lag here, if you want to call it that, in the time for preparation of the resolution reflecting your decision. You know, I think realistically, the Brown Act's 24 hours, but in terms of actually accomplishing that 24, I think pragmatically our history has taught us that you really need 48 or 72 hours. So, you know, when you notice this, you know, staff wants to have the package ready for your review. So I think that's more clarity as to a realistic time for preparation of your final decision of resolutions that, you know, reflect what you're doing or you may do in a moment or two.
Okay. And Chair Cruz, maybe also I could add on to the conversation. It's entirely a decision up to the Planning Commission whether you decide to have a special meeting or whether you have your regular meeting. I mean, the regular meetings you've signed up for as a commissioners, special meetings, you've always been very generous, but that isn't a requirement. September 3rd, if we look at the calendar, is just a few weeks away. Just little more than about 2.5 weeks away. There is a mail out for the council meeting that happens on August 30, which is a week from tomorrow. If we need 72 hours of notice, we're kind of narrowing this down. If there is a special meeting, it would need to happen on August 28, pretty much, or maybe 29, pushing it, but because mail out would be the next day, so 28. And that is, if one were to do that, then that is an imposition on the commission and not an obligation.
Okay, I'm gonna reconfirm what I said earlier and reinforce what Brent said. Just because it's currently noticed for the 3rd, before the council, doesn't mean that it has to be then, all right? It's reasonable to assume, given the complexity of this, that it may take more time. Will staff make its best efforts, like it has an administrative history of doing? Yes. But I think I said we can't guarantee anything. And it is within your discretion about when you call the meetings. So I hope that adds some clarity. If it doesn't, ask another question.
I request that we take a 5-minute recess.
No, I just think we recess if you want. Well, wait a minute. Chair.
Okay, the time is 7:41. Call this meeting order, and I make a request that we go into closed session for the next 15 minutes.
Chair Cruz, are we ready to call the meeting back to order?
Cole, yes, we are. The time is 8:15, and I call this meeting back to order. First of all, thank you all for your patience. Obviously, this is very important to us, so we had to sit there and deliberate and make sure that we're making the right decisions. With that being said, one of our commissioners does have a proposal to make. Commissioner Goff.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to run through the 14 items that are listed here and check with the panel of the commissioners to see where we're at. I'm pretty sure we're pretty set on most of these, but I just want to make sure. So item number 1 is the roofing material. That's the changing from the concrete slate roofing into the composition shingles, which has already been approved for the lower buildings. And so it's just looking for continuity with both lots. Anything?
Yes, as long as we're using the previously approved shingles, cool, as far as I'm concerned.
Just so we're ensuring to be compliant with what was approved.
Previously. So the current approval. For you, Chair, anything? Item number 2 was the roof pitch and ridge, and this was essentially changing the roof pitch and the ridge. I don't believe there was any concerns from the panel associated with that one.
No.
Nope.
Okay. Item number 3, which was an item that was the siding and the trim, that was the stucco. Currently, it's approved for stucco on levels 1 and 2 with the board and batten. No,
Lap
sorry,
siding.
lap siding. On level 3, the applicant has said that they are fine continuing with the lap siding on level 3. I believe everybody on the panel said that was
Yeah, that works
original.
for me.
Okay. So
However, we mentioned that, and we'll talk about the clubhouse.
yeah, that's
Wow.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's coming up.
Thank you.
Okay. So that one is just continue to go as it is without any change. Item number 4 was the patios, and that was going from the stucco patio on the ground floor to the cedar railings on the patio. Anybody,
issue,
Commissioner Malaria, I know you mentioned that this was the patio coverings from stucco into wood. Okay, so everybody seems good on there.
No issues.
Item number 5 was the building unit count, which we had talked about, the 17 and the 12, and I believe everybody was perfectly fine with that. There wasn't anybody concerned about the building.
No issues.
I think we're okay with the move to
Okay.
what's already been constructed on the B parcel.
Item number 6 was the garage doors. I don't think that came up today. I know it was mentioned in the last meeting, and it was just making all the garage doors the same on all buildings
Without windows.
without windows. Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
No issues.
Item number 7 was the ground floor windows. This was the original design, bathroom windows on the left or right ground units. Proposed is eliminating bathroom window on the left-right ground unit.
This was the one, if I'm recalling,
Yeah.
with the, what do you call it? The acoustics in the.
The eliminating the
equipment room and
one
so
window
on.
for
Yeah.
the noise.
So I would like, and I think, that you guys are on board with this, not saying no, but I think we'd like to see and get some ideas as to if you guys can do something with keeping a window in place and just making it a, acoustic soundproof type window, and let us know kind of what that A would look like, and B, what that would, well, we're not overly focused on costs. We are understanding of cost factors. So, keep that in mind. So I think that's the concept there. If you could come back to us with some alternatives and some, descriptives, pictures, models, whatever kind of works best to kind of show, so we can kind of really get a better feel as to what the thing is going to look like. Any further comments on that?
No, so for item number 7, it's really a desire to come back with some alternatives to
Yes.
maintaining and keeping the window
Yeah.
versus removal.
Right, to see what the potentials are. If it can be kept, I think the building looks better balanced. It just, I'll go to our comments from Tuesday about Napa Cove with the big blank facades. Here, it's not going to be anywhere near quite as bad as there, but it is, something that I think, learning from our last joint meeting, we want to kind of keep an eye on, so.
So we're going to move on to item 8, which is the apartment color schemes change, and this is just eliminating one of the 3 schemes and going down to a 2-color scheme. I know
That
there
was
was
an
a
accent color, if I recall.
Yeah.
So it's actually, there is a third color, just not as much of it. It's a
right. Well,
minor
it's
accent.
but there was 3 set difference, and they removed one, which was the one that had the red in it, I
Yep.
believe. Yep. Okay.
No issues.
Item number 9. Item number 9 is the amenity roof. So this is the amenity buildings, the, what's it called? Clubhouse, thank you. The clubhouse building, and there was quite a bit of conversations around this. And the desire was to go to an entire stucco building, removing the board and batten, which was listed in here, but we're talking
Lap siding.
lap siding. So there was discussion around that and really some options we would like to see to include some lap siding so it kind of ties in with the other buildings, which are not all stucco. So I guess the desire on that one would be to get us possible renderings of including something that would include the stucco as you're looking for, but also have some highlights or something that ties in with the lap sidings of the other buildings.
Yeah,
Is that
some
true?
alternatives. Yeah.
Everybody? Okay. Item number 10 was amenity building windows, and this was just a change in material for the window. And there was no discussion or anybody in that. Item number 11 was exterior lighting fixtures, buildings. Everybody seemed to be fine with the change in the lighting fixtures. Item number 12 was really the MSE walls on parcel B. Nobody had any concerns about any of the walls that I know. Item number 13, soil nail wall with parcel A, again, a retaining wall item.
Yep.
No conversations there. Item number 14 was also a CMU wall. Again, no conversations or concerns around those.
Correct.
So as I run through that, that is general approval on every item listed here with the exception of item number 7, which was we'd like to see some options on maintaining the window that was proposed to be removed. And then item number 9, looking at some options to include some type of lap siding in with the request for stucco so the textures tie in between all of the buildings.
On the amenity buildings, yeah.
Yeah, just on the amenity buildings. And I believe that was everything, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Goff. Yes, that was everything. We all in agreement with the proposals?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and if I think we're good, I would like to move for a continuance.
I think you need to make the decision. First, with respect to the application, the disposition of the commission is as articulated with an instruction to staff to, as much as possible, prepare resolutions consistent with this recommendation, which would be 7 and 9 would have to be tailored to the presentation of alternatives as you discussed. And so if that's your action and recommendation, that would be the motion that I would recommend the commission consider.
All right, so,
Right now, we're in a motion, so stand fast.
so I will make a motion, and you may have to guide me a little bit here, Mr. City Attorney and Mr. Department Head. But I will make a motion that we approve the 12 of the 14 items as was just mentioned, and that staff prepare a draft resolution for those 12 items, leaving some space for the other 2, where we'll get some alternatives to consider.
Okay, the concept here is that, we get the resolutions and your, what I would call qualified approval of 7 and 9, provided that the applicant furnishes
Okay,
alternatives as you described for those 2 subject matter areas for the request.
okay. Got it. So I'll amend that to motion to approve and for staff to draft resolutions subject to items 7 and 9 with alternatives being presented by the applicant you know, I'm not sure what the terminology is, but for final approval.
I'm going to qualify one thing. When you say approval, the planning commission is making a recommendation.
Oh, yeah, correct.
I
Thank
know
you.
that you implied that, but I just want to make it explicit.
Thank-
And
thank
then, because the motion includes the applicant bringing forward alternatives, there's by necessity a continuance needed to a date certain.
Yes. So, okay, so with a continuance of this regular meeting until, and this is one of the things that took a little bit of time, so you guys understand, September 4th at 4:30, to look at and understand the alternatives and give you guys some time to present those so that we can consider the final recommendation.
I can second.
Thank you. It's been regularly moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Just one moment, bear with me. Commissioner Eric Altman,
Aye.
Commissioner Andrew Goff,
Aye.
Commissioner Crystal Malari,
Aye.
Vice Chair Devitt Mohammed is absent, Chair Brando Cruz.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, everybody. That was a long, drawn-out process, and thank you again for your patience. Appreciate it. Moving on. Before we move on, I would invite the applicant if they have any closing remarks for us. Anything that you'd like to say? I would open this back up to public comment.
We talked about while you guys were out. Okay. Just make this clean and easy. Well, we'd like to see what, because I get
We get the acoustic issues, so it's.
We are gonna investigate that, and I think that could be a good alternative.
Okay.
It maintains the look,
Yeah.
so I think that's good.
Okay.
Come up with some renderings for the fall.
Blaze, thank you very much for your time.
Oh, absolutely, thanks, appreciate you guys' time as well. You two stay at trouble.
Any other comments from the public? No? At this time, I close public comment. Okay, moving on to management and staff oral reports. Active planning projects, Director Cooper.
Thank you, Chair Cruz and members of the Planning Commission. Since it feels like a long night, I'll be brief. I'll go over some of the highlights. On our list here, the Canyon Cafe food truck, we actually just recently got a resubmittal for that. So we'll be looking at that. We have no word on the status of the cafe from the property owners. Yeah. The next item here is the SCG 220 conditional use permit. The public review period for the environmental impact report has closed, and our consultants are diligently working on a response to comments on that. So looking forward to seeing that come back to the Planning Commission for your consideration in the fall. Moving down to number 9, the Outfront billboard zone change. We have they had resubmitted, and then recently we sent them some comments on their resubmittal. So we're still in communication on that one. We have a couple of new applications. There are some recycling boxes over by Perry's Pizza that were there. Code enforcement pointed that out, but there is an option for them to stay if they get approval of a design permit for recycling. So we do have an application for that.
It was just a closed recycling, if I remember.
It's still recycling. but yes. And the actual, right, the applicant is US Again Textile Recycling, so you're correct. And then we have a new design permit. It's affectionately known as Lot 8 in Watson Ranch. It's a subdivision that came to the Planning Commission several months ago. That's the northern edge of the Harvest subdivision, but it's not the Harvest subdivision. It's just next to it, but it's a strip house. It backs up to the park. Correct. So this consists of floor plans for the homes that would go in the subdivision. So that'll be coming to the Planning Commission. And then the Napa Cove project, they are getting closer, much closer to having a completion. There's some critical issues. I was on the property today and met with the site superintendent, and PG&E was out there, which was very good to see. That was an issue with utility connections. There's some work to be done for the fire suppression equipment. And then there's some site features that the builder would like to discuss with the Planning Commission. There's a few site features, some details and things that the applicant would like to discuss with the Planning Commission. So that'll be further defined and brought to the commission. And that's my update for you.
Thank you, Director Cooper, for that wonderful update. All right, moving on to commissioner items. Commissioners, what are your items? If any. Commissioner Goff.
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Altman.
Nada.
Commissioner Malari.
See you guys on September 4th. I got nothing, thank you.
I got nothing. Good night, American Canyon. Meeting adjourned.